Did it fall on your lap? How did you come to be working in the financial planning sector?
So I guess, obviously, going back to when I was in Hong Kong in particular, there was a lot of international students from the US there. And there was a few different courses that we were taught there, which are completely different to the norm. And one of them was about investment management. And in the UK, that sort of course just isn't taught in university. Well, it wasn't in my university anyway, with business management and finance. And I realised from speaking to these guys that were originally based in the US and they were in very good and well-accredited universities, that there is a lot of opportunity within the finance industry in general. It's not something I was ever exposed to prior to moving overseas. And then a few of them worked at consultancy firms in the US as well, McKinsey being one of them, and I thought, okay, this sounds quite interesting. When I went back to university, I had two options in my final year: to do a dissertation or to do a consultancy project. And I thought, actually, this is a little bit more of an interesting experience. I'm all about experiences. I'm all about being hands-on, rather than I would rather be a hands-on approach than just put my head in the books. Yes, it's good, and it's needed in certain times of your career, but I do think you develop and, you can excel at a quicker rate if you're more hands-on and you're tackling solutions and finding solutions for different problems. So going back to how I got into the financial planning side of things, so I found out that, finance is an industry that seemed quite appealing to me. Consultancy was something that I was considering. And then I just looked for international programs that were available overseas in terms of international financial advice. Came across a graduate program, went to a first interview in Birmingham, which isn't too far from where my parents originate from. So I stayed at one of my cousin's house actually before the interview. Had a nice little pep talk with my uncle the night before. Then got on the tram with my cousin, who was also at the time, he was working for KPMG in Birmingham at the time. So that was, again, kind of similar-ish field, within the finance industry. So it was great to speak to some of my older family members who were also within finance as well too. But yeah, got accepted on the graduate program, moved out to Malta for a month, again, exploring a different country. My family always say that I'm quite a jet setter, I guess. I like to experience things. It's good to see what there is outside there in the world. But yeah, ended up going on the graduate program. Was there for 4 weeks. That was pretty intense, to say the least. It was early starts. You need to be in the office by 6:30. Typically, you'd work 12 to 14 hours a day. So they did put you through, some good measures.
Yeah.
Just to kind of see if you were tough enough. And I was fine doing that at the time. I used to work long hours prior to going over there. When I was at uni, then I used to work 2 or 3 different types of jobs. Used to run different types of events as well. So that used to be early starts, late nights, till 2, 3 o'clock anyway, doing that. And then interestingly enough, the interview that I had over the phone in terms of looking at one of the opportunities overseas, because Malta was just a stepping stone to then get put into an international office, and had 2 options on the table then. One was Asia, which was Malaysia. The reason I had that there is because I had previously been to Hong Kong. I thought, Asia is a very up-and-coming market back in 2017 when I was there. It still is, obviously Hong Kong's had its difficulties in recent times, but the other call was from Chris, obviously the CEO of Hoxton, and he had a position there in Qatar. 2017, never heard of Qatar at the time, didn't really know much about the Middle East, but the conversation that I had with Chris, you're going to probably ask me, but can't fully remember how that conversation went, but there was something in there that made me think, right, this guy is who I want to work for. It's quite exciting in terms of the opportunity that's available there. Went back to the UK, graduated, and within a couple of weeks I was on a flight in September over to Qatar. So that's been just over 7 years now.
Thank you. Great rundown.
Yeah. Long-winded answer, but we got there in the end.
Oh, brilliant, mate. No, really, really clear. Now, a couple of things I want to pick out here. One is you've been a real success at Hoxton. That's for sure. Okay. You articulated so well some of the traits that you have, which I think are the reasons why you've been a success. I just want to pick apart a few of them. So you've got the entrepreneurial side to you. Give me a breakdown on the entrepreneurial side of you, because people who are listening need to understand that there are certain traits that make you a success in financial planning, and you have them in abundance. So one of them you've already explained, which is your academia, your ability to apply yourself and learn, and to study, which I think is a great indicator of structuring your day, the ability to absorb knowledge, to be able to repeat it, to pass tests, which are really required when you do your qualifications and CPD within this space. Aptitude for learning, I think that's really important. I think the other side that you kind of touched on was the entrepreneurial side, which I think is really, really important. I think work ethic is really, really important. Now, talk to me about your entrepreneurialism and your work ethic. At what age and where and what?
Where it all slots in. So I think, if you speak to anybody, right, and you go back to the basics and you go back to the start, it comes to your family. So I was very fortunate. I've got a lovely family, a very big family on both sides, both my mother's side and my father's side. In terms of my father, he's a very hard-working guy, works, again, him himself, he works 10 to 14 hours a day. So seeing that from a young age, and he still does it today as well, it sticks with you. And I think the hard work has definitely come from my dad. And the soft approach, the manners, has come from my mum. So every time you used to go to family members, she's like, make sure you say please, thank you, give a hug, 2 hands, like you mean it, no half-hearted stuff. So all of that's come from family traits, which I think is really important, and that kind of develops and builds a person initially. And then as you grow older, as long as you've got your core values, you've got a good heart, you're respectable, you're kind, it's difficult really to feel if you do apply yourself properly.